about this message to the Democrats? Keep your freaking hands off our daughters. We don't want the young women of America to be drafted, okay? This is the latest plot by the woke mob inside the United States Senate to move through the National Defense Authorization Act, a provision that would have young ladies now when they turn 18 registering for selective service and registering for the draft. I have said for a long time, war is a man's game. Let it be a man's game. Now, this is not to say that if you're a young lady and you want to volunteer for the military, have at it. I even think now, and I've grown on this topic, that there may be combat roles for women, providing you can meet and match the same physical tests that are required by men. Okay, I'm fine with that. But on a volunteer basis, you can't be drafting in young ladies into the military. This is all part of the plot to what? To destroy our military from within. It is the wussification of America. We watch the transgender ideology in the military. We watch the diversity, equity, and inclusion push inside the military. Now bring more women in. God forbid we were in a World War III scenario. I'm going to talk about all this today, and then we're going to talk about more of the cheap fakes that the Biden administration is telling us. Another video of Joe Biden, literally as feeble as it gets. He can't even get into his SUV. Play that, and more from the women of The View today. So with that, folks, let's get the party started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, thank you so much. Listen, I don't like the idea of women having to register for the draft, but let's be honest about something. I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where we need a draft. There is never going to be a kinetic war like there was during World War II. You're never going to have hundreds of thousands of men storming the beaches of a faraway place, whether it's an island in the Pacific or whether it's a beach in Europe. It's not happening. With technology today, with the weaponry that we have, with the drone situations, there is not going to be boots on the ground like we saw during World War II or even Vietnam. So with that, I think the draft is absolutely obsolete now. It doesn't mean you don't leave it in place in case we need it. So God forbid anything was to happen and we have fewer and fewer Americans signing up for the military. I think one of the reasons that makes our military so great is it is an all-volunteer army. And so when you start forcing people in, it takes away from, I believe, the readiness and the desire to win that our United States military has. I think because it's all volunteer makes it one of the greatest fighting forces on earth. But you see the left trying to ruin this. And this woke ideology of equity for everyone, equal outcomes for everyone. Man or woman should have equal outcomes. Well, bogus. I'm still under the belief I let a woman off the elevator first. If I get my very special lady friend angry with me, I'm going to send her flowers. She doesn't need to send me flowers. I'm sending her flowers. These are special privileges that come along with being a woman, okay? I'm going to be ultimately a protector in any position that I can. This is not to say women can't protect themselves. It's not to say that women can't play that role in situations if they're forced upon to do it. But in the overall scheme of things, I want to lead and I want to protect. This goes for the United States military too. We don't need to be drafting our daughters. Keep your hands off our daughters, please. So this was a little rundown of exactly what's going on that I saw on Fox News. Check it out.
Martha, good morning. The Senate version of the National Defense Authorization Act, which sets out military and national security priorities, would require women to register for selective service. Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley is not a fan, writing on X, quote, "I'm not voting for any defense bill that forces my daughter to register for the draft. Not now, not ever." And he's not alone. Texas Republican Congressman Chip Roy also reacting on X, quote, "You can go straight to hell over my dead body." The argument for women being a part of the draft comes from experts such as the National Commission on Military, National, and Public Service. It concludes, quote, "This is a necessary and fair step, making it possible to draw on the talent of a unified nation in a time of national emergency." Now, there are two different versions of this bill, one in the House, one in the Senate. So it's possible women in the draft could get dropped as lawmakers iron out the differences. Martha?
Well, when you hear everyone talk about this, it becomes clear to me that it most likely and most certainly is going to get dropped. I don't think the House of Representatives and any Republican in his good mind is going to force women to sign up for the draft. I get this whole push that they want women and men on equal standing and all of these things. Now, we should all have equal opportunity, but we're not equal, okay? Some people are smarter than others. Some people are stronger than others. And on a whole, men are stronger than women. On a whole, women may be mentally tougher than men. I will give women that, on a whole. But when it comes to physical ability and you look at a fighting force and you want the strongest of the strong to be pulled in, because you're not going to need everybody. No matter what war we have, we're not going to need everyone. You'd want to start with the strongest, most physically strongest. Now, it's not to say that there's not a woman who's stronger than a man. Of course there is. But on a whole, men are stronger than women. The left just doesn't want to admit this. They don't want to admit there are differences. They don't want to admit that over the course of history, men have been the hunter and gatherers. Not because they just decided to, but because God built us in a way that we were more adept to do that than women. But oh my Lord, you tell that to the left, they go totally out of control. Totally out of control. So this was a video I saw that was put together asking young men on Liberty University, all right, which is a nice conservative school, about the idea of women serving in the military and specifically being drafted.
Should women be included in the draft?
No.
No.
Why not?
I don't know that that's necessarily the woman's role. I think they can be involved in the war effort, but I don't know that them being in the draft is fair.
Should women be allowed in the draft?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Women and men have distinct roles given by God. God created men to be the protectors and providers, and it is a strong society that recognizes that that's men's role to go out and protect the family and the nation. It is a weak and feeble society full of weak and feeble men that would dare send its mothers and daughters off to war to fight.
I don't think they should be included in the draft.
Would you want to be drafted?
No, I would not.
Should women be included in the draft?
Personally, I do not think so.
Why not?
I just believe that men and women have biblical roles.
Should women be included in the draft?
I love this interview, by the way. Biblical roles. Could you imagine what the left's going to say to that? But it is true. Can you imagine us as a society when the men are sending women off to fight our wars for us? Come on, man. We know we have sunk to new lows if this is what we're resorting to. Hey, honey, go fight for me. Oh, by the way, there's a shooter in the convenience store. I'm going to run out. Can you handle it, babe? Not a chance. Not on my watch. Here's what I say. Honey, out the back door as I'm pulling my firearm and taking out the shooter. This is what men are supposed to do, but sadly, the war on men is taking its toll. I mean, the wussification of America is very real. We're raising total puss bags. There's no doubt about it in my mind. But I like these young people at Liberty University.
Draft.
I don't believe so because men are called to be the protectors of the family and providers, and so that includes going to war and going to defend their families. And so I'm not like a traditional feminist, but I'm like a biblical feminist, so that means that men should go and protect our country.
We need to seriously consider what type of nation we're living in if we send our mothers and daughters to fight for us.
Amen to that. My kid's 15 years old. We got to look at Liberty University for him. It's like the only school left in America that has any common sense now.